Сайн байцгаана уу хүн үзэгчдээ. Өнөөдөр манай де факто нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Монголд олон жил ажилласан Frontier Japan гэж компани гүйцэтгэх захирал ноён Masa Igata оролцож байна.
Masa Igata Frontier Japan компани үүсгэн байгуулагч. Японы Кёотогийн их сургуулийн хуулийн факультетийг төгссөн Salomon Brothers Asia Securities, Nikko City Group Securities компаниудын гүйцэтгэх захирлаар ажиллаж байсан. Irish Asia Limited Frontier Securities компанийг байгуулж гүйцэтгэх захирлаар тус ажиллаж байсан. Emerging Markets Capital-ын зөвлөх.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much for inviting me to the prestigious show.
You know, after so many years working in Mongolia, doing many conferences for investment in Mongolia, in London, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Ulaanbaatar, I'm so happy to talk about what you have been doing and then what kind of conclusions you draw from all these years. So let's start from your day to start your business in Mongolia and what you have been doing.
I used to own the securities companies here. It was first foreign-owned, fully serviced investment bank in Mongolia, and I have started the business in 2007. And at the time when Mongolia has peaked in terms of investment from abroad in around 2010, we also had a huge number of staffs. And also I have been doing some other business, like real estate business here in Mongolia. And also we have been organizing the conferences starting from Mongolia and then in Tokyo and London, Hong Kong. The conferences has grown every year, and then one time the audience has been more than 1,000, and we have invited the Prime Minister and ministers and foreign investors and even the normal audience in Mongolia who don't know so much about investment and business. The reason why we invited those people were to invite ordinary people and let them know the real situation of Mongolia.
Exactly. I have been to almost all of them, but not fully. Let's talk particularly about Japan Investment Forum. Tokyo Investment Forum of Mongolia. That's every fall in November or so. It were held, and we had at times almost 1,000 people, including major Japanese companies, in particular trading companies from Mongolia, the companies who are looking for investment. It was even after an investment day or so, next day or in the evening, it was always kind of matching businesses, etc. And it was so active. But recently, you are not organizing it anymore. Why?
Because the reason why I have been organizing was to invite the trading company and listen to the honest opinions about Mongolia and how to change the government of
policy.
Mongolia and give the problems and how to change the policies to the Mongolian government. But in fact, not many tourism companies have joined because they could not, they were not being allowed to speak out frankly to the audience.
Why?
Because their headquarters and their senior boss didn't want them to make honest opinions to the public.
Japanese largest trading companies' headquarters or their bosses were not allowing the Japanese delegation or the business talk frankly. Why is that?
Yeah, because that will give always in Japanese companies has been hoping for Mongolian government to change. However, if they make an honest opinion, and if they're telling to the audience that they're full of corruptions and also the inconsistent policies, and the country is not governed by the law; it's governed by the people. Then it will make the negotiation between Mongolian government with Japanese trading companies difficult.
Okay. We have made this so-called free trade agreement, which is by Japanese tradition called economic partnership agreement, EPA, quite for some time ago. And then there is no substantial growth of trade in between, even when there are some growth, but such a big imbalance to and from Mongolia. Why is that? I mean, we're expecting more trade. What is your take on that?
Firstly, in terms of the import from Mongolia, of course, there is a possibility of importing meat, importing the cashmeres, and so on. However, the standard of Japanese importing for meat is quite high, and it has not been very easy for Mongolian company to adjust to that. That is one reason. And in terms of cashmere as well, of course there are lots of cashmeres around in this country. However, for instance, the Japanese weather is different from Mongolia, and the Japanese people wear cashmeres as a part of fashion, not so much as to warm themselves. So the demand from Japan is a bit different from how it is used in Mongolia, and that is one reason why it has been difficult.
All right. So on the Mongolian side, on the Japanese side, we keep buying, not directly, say, from Toyota, but they're even from not their dealer, but the people who are buying old cars and selling, people, almost ordinary people go, or some broker goes there, also individual, and bring in zillions of Prius and almost
Lexus as well.
Yeah, Priuses, old cars, and it's like their final destination, Mongolia is. So in this regard, what is your take? I mean, how long we will do that, and plus, what shall we do with the used batteries, for example? How can we dispose those cars, old cars, which will not move anymore in near future?
You mean about the battery car, or you were talking about
mostly battery cars,
transit to the EV car in the future?
No, I'm talking about the old batteries of old cars, because they are majority of the share, lion's share of this trade.
You see, it depends on policy. The Mongolian government is also seeking for the green economy, and one of the policies that could be taken by the government is to allow more EV cars to be imported in the future. And the taxing to the existing gasoline car, and that could happen. And if that is happening, then it will be more chance for the next generation cars to be imported to this country. And Toyota's new president, his biggest mission given by the previous the president is shifting the companies to away from the the existing business, but to the new business. So they're they're shifting very aggressively to the new company.
Okay. Recently, by the way, the last, I don't know whether the very late last, but the one honorary chairman of Toyota Corporation, Mr. Toyota, passed away almost last week.
Yeah.
And what will happen now? Not any more Toyota, or how does it go in your system?
Yeah, the Toyota family's ownership of the company, I don't remember how much, but probably not significant, maybe 2%, 3%, as far as I remember. So it is not big anyway, but it's true that previous, the Akio-san's father and Mr. Akio, Toyota has led the company and made the company to the global, one of the global company, and with that regard, the Mr. Akio Toyota still remain as a chairman. Of course, he is not doing the day-to-day business. However, he's trying to work for car industry, Japanese car industry as a whole, not just for Toyota. So his presence for the car industry, and also his voice to the new president will not interfere him, but his influence will still remain to the company.
So the remaining 98% are public, right? It is sold on a Japan exchange, or it's New York exchange, where it is listed?
It is mainly listed in Tokyo Stock Exchange, Japan Stock Exchange. I don't remember if they are listed in overseas as well, but majority of the share should be traded in the Tokyo Stock Exchange.
Let's go back to Mongolia, and we were talking about corruption. Is it serious evidence? How do you would feel that in particular cases?
I see the situation is unchanged, or maybe even worse, compared to the time when I have first came to Mongolia 15 years ago. It is not becoming better, and that is one of the reasons why I don't want to invest here, and as a small investor, and big investor like trading companies are not investing here neither. As far as I know, the big three trading company,
like Sumitomo, Itochu,
the Itochu, Mitsui, and Mitsubishi. Those are the biggest profit maker of trading companies in Japan. they're probably making a record high profit this year. Mitsubishi is more than 1 trillion Japanese yen.
1 trillion.
Yeah, and Mitsui and Itochu are close to 1 trillion yen. So that is highest for
in history.
Japan. Highest. Yeah.
But around the world.
Around the world, there are many other,
No, I mean their operation. The profit they are making from not on the Japanese market, for around the market or world market.
I think 70-80% of the total profit of Mitsui and Mitsubishi are coming from mining sector. And energy sector. And most of their operations of those sectors are in foreign country, Australia, some Chile.
Sumitomo was in one of the member of one of that consortium who was going to make power station number 5, along with I remember it was Sojitz.
Sojitz, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the bidding in Mongolia, which later on the whole project is cancelled. So again, with what is the main issue that this Sumitomo had left, Sojitz had left, Itochu had left Mongolia? What is behind, you think? Is it a too small market or?
No, I think Sumitomo has entered to this market, the more than 20 quarter centuries ago, and at that time the mobile business was very small, and nobody in Japan did not expect that Mobicom would be so big. And they have invested into Mobicom. Eventually, the KDDI has taken over. However, the presence of Sumitomo was very big, and
if the market is big, which is true, and it's profitable business, why would Sumitomo sell their shares to KDDI, which they did? Why is that?
I think I don't know exactly, but my guess is, because Mobicom has such a big share, the other competitors in Mobicom.
Almost half of the market.
Mobicom. But Mobicom's competitors had
the smaller.
Had a support from some politicians and tried to, the pressure to Mobicom, and that was one of the reasons why
they did not want to be
frustrated,
pushed into the corner.
Of course, Sumitomo also wanted to look at the mining sector, but the investing into mining sector did not succeed. They once wanted to go into the coal sector together with Shenfa and others, and at the last minute, the Mongolian government didn't want to say yes to the consortium and so on, and because the one politician say something, and at the time when the signing ceremony will be happening, suddenly they change the policy overnight or something. So I'm not the counterpart, and I don't know exactly, but that's what I guess and I have heard.
So one government is looks like saying yes. Then the next government say no. Inconsistency of policy.
That's right.
Now this current government of Oyungerden is trying to fix that, and they reveal old cases, so-called corruption or overtaking foreigners' assets. They are now revealing the case of Suruga, for example. They are making press conference on who was involved. I mean, naming high-ranking officials, etc. It looks like from the government side, they also want to have justice. And maybe it will, if it is done completely, maybe it will create, not only with Japanese, but it will create with other people some kind of trust in Mongolia. Do you believe in that?
I don't believe, unfortunately.
Why?
Because politicians change every 4 years, and politicians' power to the decision making on policies still remain and very strong, and that's why also in addition the bureaucrat doesn't have the professional knowledge and experience, and every 4 years those bureaucrats
they are changed as well.
Yeah, change, and they have to study all over again. And I think they don't have enough power, and the politicians will change every 4 years and remain the power. And that kind of scenario doesn't change and has not changed so far. And I don't know, whether the current.
So, what is you think is necessary to have kind of more rule of laws rather than the rule of people? What such a country like Mongolia is to do, I think, to start with, or to do so better?
I think the bureaucrat should have more power and more. Of course, that they need to be scrutinized from someone in the third party. However, the bureaucrat should be consistently be able to conduct the jobs and make policies, and these policies should be consistently monitored and also conducted. For instance, the Mongolia has big traffic problem at this moment, and the Japanese government has been advising to make a metro subway already 15 years ago, and nothing happened. And this subway system has been advised to the parliament, to the cabinet, and also the Ulaanbaatar city. However, this kind of long-term policy is not supported by the politicians, because they cannot make money on this.
You mean individually?
Yeah, that's right. So that is a headache, and that is, the Japanese government and the Japanese, the government organizations like JICA has been supporting, and the ADB, the World Bank. Everybody is trying to improve the Mongolian system. However, it is such a long-term vision, and these kind of long-term vision are not supported by the politicians.
So, along with the inconsistency and other factors, there is also a personal factor where the public officers who makes decisions looking for money for himself over the public interests of the metro.
That's right.
Sounds like in many economic freedom law index countries. Okay, but one is to start somehow from where you think it is to be started to be more efficient.
To be more efficient.
Yeah.
The politicians need to change. And there are 76 politicians, and we are expecting the next elections in 2024. And we are expecting new the parliament members who will be taking office should be selected by the IMAC or those IMAC people should select the right people, right person,
Right.
young or old, yeah. Yeah, because I have been expecting, if they're young people, they have studied abroad in Japan, U.S., and they know the democracy, and I thought that they could change, but it has not been the case so far. Even the young, newly elected parliament members, was not that. The good in terms of corruptions. So what I'm expecting is, not to expect to the new young, newly elected, the parliament member, but behind that, the people who are electing those, the new parliament members should understand.
So it's
who is right and
a voters' issue. Voters to understand well the responsibility of their votes, so that we have more cleaner, more right people to power.
Right. Yeah.
Not only parliament, but also at the IMAG level as well. Right.
So that's why the people protest to the parliament members and politicians are no good and so on. But in fact, those people who has elected those parliament members have to change. Otherwise, this country's politics will not change.
So peoples, first of all, ordinary peoples who are voting, they are to be changed. Since you know many Mongolians, you have been traveling in this country, you are living in many years here, where to start that approach changing? Is it education or is it knowledge? The more information. How to change?
Of course, someone like you, they should deliver the right message. And what is right, what is wrong, and how the politicians should be acting. Secondly, the media. Media is not that neutral in this country, and newspapers, TV, and the interviews like this. Those media's control. Some media are controlled by the influential politicians.
Yes.
And
almost every influential politicians have on TV or newspaper or website.
Yeah, that's why the normal ordinary people would listen to those, and they make decisions based on that.
Okay, media.
Yeah,
very important message. Another question: Japan itself, being very feudal or samurai-ruled country, say late 1800s, let's say, Meiji area, just after Meiji area. Similar changes were also happening in Japan, and there were serious resistance by Japanese ordinary people against foreigners, Western investment. There is, for example, it was written by Fukuzawa-san in his book. And so what we talk is a transformational, right? It's Mongolia is free only for the last 30 years. Maybe this change is maybe this time to come here in Mongolia faster, not like in many other countries, including Japan. With the IT, this whole communication things, are you hopeful for that?
Of course, the Japan and Mongolia is quite different, and samurai spirit has been one of the core value of Japan, and because of that, that makes Japan and the rest of Asia different in terms of how the corruption will be considered. People like to die on the dignity in Japan, rather than being regarded as taking the bribe. In Japan. So Japan and the rest of Asia is quite different. But in Mongolia, I expect that the Mongolians will need to look for the more the European style, because the Japan has influenced Mongolia quite a lot, but in reality, the Mongolia has got lots of influence from Russia since 1920s. So the Japanese way doesn't apply to Mongolia.
Old habits die harder.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay.
It's a very good food for thoughts. Once we are criticizing, once we see the problems, then if we have commitment to change it, then obviously things will be better. Okay. With this note, let's complete our conversation.
Okay.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
За хүн төлөвчтэй өнөөдөр манай de facto нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор ноён Masa Igata оролцлоо. Баярлалаа.